Guys, Delulu Laguna. Now, despite the fact he manages the ops, you guys know how much I like Pochettino from a footballing point of view, purely away from the tribal aspect of a manager. If I was a footballer, I'd love to play for Pochettino. He gives you confidence, he pushes you to get better, and he gives you belief. And his South American, his South American work ethic, anger, passion, translation into his side. I mean, off the field, you saw him inspired, galvanizing the fans, and being very emotional. You saw that with his players; they're going the extra mile. Yes, sometimes Spurs were a bit over the top and were a bit, yeah, but you get where I'm going with that, guys. Pochettino got a lot of time for. Last 2 seasons, Spurs have been playing solid. They've been playing more solid than they have been in recent years. He's probably their best manager in recent years, in the last 10 years, to be honest. So yeah, he's doing a lot. Last 2 years, especially second and third. The season before last year, really it was second because they really cocked it up and we came second. Obviously, the table don't lie, and we came second, they came third. But we know. So if we look at that last 2 years, second and third, second. Pochettino, someone you've got. I've already told you guys, you've got to. The footballing world has to hold him to the same high standards that Jose, Pep, Wenger, even to not really Klopp, but the rest. They all, if they all do something, they're heralded and hounded out and questioned. If it's Pochettino to a degree, it's swept under the carpet. Yeah, with the club stature and things like that, it is a bit different. But the main point of this video, guys, is not to talk about that. I mean, he still has to be judged on all of them things, and he has to be judged as harsh as everyone else. More harsh next year on the top that Spurs have had 2 solid years. They need to go for the league next year, regardless of what he said in regards to not spending and spoke about Wembley. But yeah, let's get into it. Now, I don't know how to put my finger on this, but the language coming out of Spurs does sound a bit different, and I'm going to get into it. Firstly, Ericsson's talking about spending, and it's an English thing, and it's true. What he said is true. We all, in England, some people equate spending and how much a player costs to being good or success. We know that spending isn't well, and I've told you guys this bubble will burst once soon, and the clubs that are really looking after their academy in a couple of years will see. I don't know when it's going to burst, but it is going to burst. So that is true. But at the same time, we're fighting a loser's game. You've seen Wenger pay for it, trying to be a footballing purist and battle against the norms of spending money. It's somewhat adapt to survive to a degree. So there's 2 parallels. Anyways, Ericsson kept speaking about the spending stuff. Pochettino has a couple other players that Spurs have. Pochettino's played down the importance of spending, which he didn't. The tone didn't. Of course, he's never been an advocate of spending, but it didn't sound like this last year when he said similar things. He said, "Yeah, man, he just sounds mad different." I mean, and when you consider that, yeah, they bought Sissoko for somewhat 30. I know it's not 30 altogether, but that's what it could reach up to, and he's probably gone. They've got Ericsson for 12, Dele for 5, Kane for nothing. Spending doesn't mean anything, and Pochettino highlighted that last year, but it just sounds, I don't know how, guys, it just sounds so different. He said it's not all entirely about money. You need to be creative and clever. This sounds like somewhat when we moved to the Emirates. Of course, just because Arsenal struggled when we went to the Emirates and we never had money and these things doesn't mean it's going to happen at Spurs. Is it likely? Yes, but it doesn't necessarily mean it happens. One thing I'm scared of is that, off topic, guys, is that some crazy Russian or someone with a lot of money buys Spurs, because then, yeah, and gives Pochettino the backing. But yeah, back to it. Yeah, it just sounds different. He's spoken about how Spurs are doing things differently, looking to their academy in regards to other clubs spending. This sounds somewhat like Wenger when we were going to a new stadium. And when you consider that Carl Walker said he left to win titles and Spurs didn't really have that edge, and he was benched towards the end of the season, could he possibly have known or pressed Pochettino and Levy on the club's plans for this following season where they'll be playing at Wembley? And then, don't get me wrong, he's probably always going to leave, but upon finding this out, made up his mind to go. And then obviously, because he's not going to be part of the squad next year, coupled with Trippier's good form, he didn't really play towards the end. It does sound different. Like Pochettino, the main thing, he sounds less bullish about his the prospects next year. The 2 seasons before, he said Spurs were trying to win the league, we're trying to do this and that. Now it's urging calmness. He played up to Wembley. I'm disappointed in Pochettino for that one, because Pochettino is fearless, man. Yes, you could say that Spurs at Wembley, because they haven't. Well, yeah, they went to Wembley against Chelsea and got displayed. Wembley is not kind to Spurs at all. But I do think, to a degree, it's overplayed. I mean, didn't they, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember seeing an article a few years ago how they changed their training pitch or installed something to replicate Wembley. Plus, these guys, Kane's played at Wembley. These guys are some of the best in the Premier League. And if you're Toby, one of the best centre-halves in across Europe. So I don't think, of course, the Wembley thing will play a part, and having being to watch Spurs at Wembley and sitting there is different to White Hart Lane. You're away from the pitch, and in contrast to White Hart Lane and how they won a season unbeaten. But I do think it's overplayed. These guys are good players, and I think it's more mental than anything. Yes, it will play a part, but it's overplayed, man. Like, for me, like, it just seems like a cop out, and it just seems like he's less bullish. It either seems like he's been told he'll be getting less fees to spend by Levy in regards to the stadium, and yeah, and like, it just sounds like that. To be honest with you guys, I don't really know the course of this video. The whole developing young players and looking to the academy is what you heard from Wenger when we went through this sort of thing. And when you consider that Spurs are just literally one away. Of course, I said they can look to the likes of Anoma. He should get chances. Marcus Edwards, he should get chances. There's a couple other guys that should get chances here and there. Kyle Walker-Peters, when you consider Walker's gone and Trippier's obviously the first choice. Don't know if Spurs plan to sign another fullback, but there's an opportunity for him. There's them sort of guys that can add to the squad. But you also feel for the last 2 years, Spurs have been great. More so last year, when you consider that they had the best defensive, attacking, didn't lose at home. All them little stats they had, all of that. All they need to do is add one player for around 20 to 30 million. You're telling me Spurs ain't got that? Especially when they can raise funds via selling players. They've got Son, who's back 20. Kane, who got 20 plus 30, if I'm not mistaken. Dele, who's chipped in. They just need someone else like that. So I get if he's looking to the academy, but guys, Spurs fans will know it better than me. But for me, it just sounds different. Pochettino typically sounds very optimistic in the past. What was that? In the past 2 seasons, I don't know why I got scared there, guys, but something dropped. But yeah, in the last 2 seasons, he sound bullish, regardless of who spent who. He's always believed in Spurs. I don't think he doesn't believe in Spurs, but it just feels like something is going on there. That there's somewhat air of caution, and yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in regards to the stadium. You'd like to think, for me, I've said it before, you need to kind of give Kane, I don't know if it's there yet, I think he's on 80k, but 100 plus, Toby 100 plus, purely because if it does happen like Arsenal, you go through the trouble stages and people are not winning leagues, you need to give them some sort of incentives to stay, because they're going to question stuff. In regards to Kane, Kane will be the last to leave. It will take Kane a heavy heart to leave Spurs, if ever. I don't believe he won't leave Spurs for a while, but if they did go through a couple of barren seasons, and he's still getting top goal scorer, but his compatriots for England don't have any of them personal awards but have titles, he'll have a decision to make. And then the likes of Lloris, etc. Lloris, he loves Spurs, but he has no real ties to Spurs. Take this from an Arsenal fan. Don't show these players loyalty. But yeah, who could leave? But it just sounds a bit too different. And if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be disappointed somewhat by Pochettino's language. Yeah, we've got to rein it in. We've had 2 good seasons. We can't just assume the third one is going to be great. But this would be the time where I'd want us to prove our mettle more, prove our worth more, because people have. I think Spurs deserved it, but people have talked. There's some fans have talked nonsense the past 2 years. This is the year that there will be real pressure on Spurs, where you somewhat expect Spurs to be in and amongst the title challenges. So yeah, guys, Delulu Lagoon, I'm signing out. Like I said, don't really know the point of this video. I just came across a lot of articles, and Pochettino disappoints me, although he manages to obviously someone I like, man, and someone I like to hear speak bullish, not this pessimistic stuff. But yeah, guys, Delulu Lagoon, I'm signing out. Get in the comments, yeah.